Hi, everyone. Welcome into Prime Time. I'm Barbara Marville Kelly, and with me is my partner in everything I do, Dennis Kelly. We are back. New year. It's 2020.
You got that right. There's a lot of exciting things going to happen this year.
I know, and it's already been happening. We finished out 2019 strong in so many different levels, and we're starting out the new year strong, a strong mindset, strong heart set, and we want you to join us and come along for the ride. We want to share with you today some of the things that we've discovered in really the last, 2 to 4 to 6 weeks? With what you've been doing, what I've been doing, and
it's like putting a puzzle together, and all of a sudden all the pieces start matching.
Bingo. Isn't that the truth? So how are you guys doing? Are you having a great start for the new year? Let me ask you something. Did you come up with any New Year's resolutions? Do you do that? Do you follow through? Do you start and then you kind of fade away? Guess what? We don't do New Year's resolutions, do we?
No.
Ever.
Everything is a resolution.
Yeah, it is, right? Why did we decide not to do a New Year's resolution many years ago?
Well, I don't know why you decided me not to do it, because I didn't need it.
No.
Because I was doing goal setting all year round, so when a resolution came up to make one, I didn't need to.
That's really interesting that you say that. Plus, it's also kind of a letdown, and everybody does that. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people do that in the beginning of the year, when I'm thinking that maybe we should be doing that throughout the year, like you've done for many years, especially with the discipline that you had to exhibit in your competitions over the years, right?
That's true, and it's all, like I say, part of a plan. In other words, picking out the weaknesses and the strong points and dealing with it, and find the weakest link and work on the weakest link. Like when somebody juggles 3 balls, you always keep your eye on the ball in the air.
Very good.
You don't look at the ones over here, because you can see that in your peripheral vision. That's what life is all about. Keep your eye on the ball in the air. And everything else sort of work in and blend in, and all things is possible. People spend too much time on how to do something rather than digesting the thoughts in your mind as already been done.
Mm-hmm. And seeing it happening.
That's right.
When you see, well, we've often said, if you've watched our shows in the past, we often say what you think about, you bring about. So when I posted our show notes, being A Marvelous Monday, A Marvelous Life, it truly is, because it's all of what we make it, right?
Absolutely.
Do you think that we don't have issues like you? Do you think that we don't have those moments where we go, geez, how did that happen, right? Or we have discussions like, okay, what are we going to do now, right? We are no different than the average person out there, but we choose to perceive things in a way so that it elevates our conscious level to much more positive. And I tell you, it's really made a big difference. I think we've had health issues, sure, from time to time, here and there. And
well, that brings something up. I have something I want to share with anybody that's a new viewer. If you see my hand shaking a little bit and me slur my words or stop and have a senior moment, I'm recovering from Parkinson's disease. You know,
Thank you.
Say recover.
Thank you for saying that, and you are doing marvelously
well. The reason I talk about it, it's not that I wear it as a badge, but the thing is, so many people out there have it, and they think it's a death sentence.
Thank you for saying
that. It's not a death sentence.
No,
you
it's
can live
not.
a normal, healthy life if you just go for the golden ring, so to speak. Set a goal and figure out ways that you can exercise more than normal, because you have to be abnormal to be normal, in a sense, when you have something like that type of a disease.
Well, when you say being abnormal compared to the average person, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, and that's sad to think that we have to be abnormal in order to remain healthy, because I wonder what I should look up the stats to see what it is the average person that exercises, like 1 out of how many, 2 out of 10 out of, or whatever.
Well, I know when I was running the gym, of course, where I met you, the health club, people would come in, you'd see them come in for the first week or two, you wouldn't see them again. And some of the health clubs depend on them not coming back, because it'd be overcrowded.
Yeah.
So there is a certain element there that they don't mind them not coming in some cases.
Well, you know, it was interesting, because when I joined the gym, and this is quite a story, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but the one thing that I noticed about my husband is he would call if I didn't show up at the gym. To me, that was somebody that really cared. You were the director of the club, so you wanted to make sure that everybody's getting their money's worth, but also changing and transforming their lives into a better human being so they can deal with the daily stresses and eat healthy so they can lead by example for their families.
Well, when I would enroll someone, I wasn't thinking of the commission I would make or anything like that. The key thing is I felt obligated to that person to make sure that they got their money's worth. Otherwise, I'm not an ethical individual. So what I would do is I would make it my prime interest. Before they enroll, I would say, now you're going to, and I would joke, I'd say, if you don't come in, I can beat on your door at 2 o'clock in the morning to get here to the gym.
You did say that to me. Yeah. Although,
And of course, you say it with a smile.
I know, right? But you did call on a regular basis if I wasn't in.
Absolutely. It was my responsibility as the director, or even just a salesperson. I was a little bit more than that, but the key thing, it doesn't matter. There's a matter of ethics involved with there, too.
Yes.
You take the money, give them the money's worth. And in the long run, it makes your job much more pleasant, because then people that are active, they can come back and they feel so, how would I say it, they feel referred to them or referred to myself as a person that cares.
That's right, you do. And while we were working out and you were showing me the machines after I had joined and all, you decided to use me as an example in the book that you wrote back in 1996, The 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. And believe me when I tell you, this is really like a manual. It has anything and everything you need in here. Nothing has expired, right? The 6 steps are the 6 steps that we live religiously. My husband is much better at it than I am, but I do follow it pretty well, especially for the mindset, because we often say that the 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth is based on my husband's program called Tri-Neurogenics, using the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the fuel. And I know that mind, body, spirit is overused a lot. But if you really have a concept that works and is validated and backed by science and medical documentation, I think you might want to lean a little bit more forward to hear what we're going to have to say in this hour. Because we want you to live a quality of life, and if we can share some of our secret sauces with you, then that's what we're going to do. So we're going to just jump right in on some of the things that we have learned and some of the things that we sometimes, just like you, we forget the tools in our toolbox. It might take a friend or family member to remind us, hey, didn't you used to do this? And I said the same thing to my husband recently. I said, whatever happened to this? Whatever happened to that? Just sometimes get away from it for one day, then a week or whatever, and before you know it, you're not doing it anymore. And you realize some of those things are very, very good for you, and you start them up again. And then the fireworks begin, right, hon?
Absolutely.
What happened? Well, just a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about some of the things in both of our toolboxes, and one of them was the lymphosizer, otherwise known as a mini trampoline. And we have other things that we're going to share with you. We may need to do some of it throughout the year and all, but we're front-loading some of the things that has happened very, very quickly. And I said to my husband, I said, you know when you're happiest is when you're in training for competition. Not that we need one more trophy in our trophy room. Believe me when I tell you, we don't. So I said, why don't you get back into your Joe Louis routine, get out the lymphosizer, and start bouncing. And all of a sudden, within just a couple of days, you sounded so much clearer and better and all of that. So I want you to give the great features and benefits on the history that you can, so that our viewers know, because I have been recommending this lymphosizing program to anybody and everybody who will listen to me, even somebody in the grocery store. Get yourself a mini rebounder, but get a good one, and maybe we can help you with that too. We don't sell them or anything like that. We're still using the one that I had when I was at HSN.
Yes, lasted a long time.
Yeah, the Urban Rebounder.
Good quality one.
It's a very good quality one. And a poor quality one I gave to my neighbor for the grandson. So we're still using this one, but it's important to understand something with these, why they work. And you can explain it way better than I can, but it makes sense. But I'm reading a book, and I will be posting on Primetime and our Facebook pages on a book that really goes into detail. And when I opened the book up, and the doctor was talking about where lymphocyzing begins, it begins in the womb, right?
Right.
Because the baby is in there bouncing when you walk, right?
Absolutely. There's so many factors why that particular type of instrument is one of the best exercises in the world, to lose weight, to gain muscle tone, and it fits in. What it does, it encourages everything else you're doing to get better.
Yes.
In other words, it sends out a mode of operation that affects, if you're doing weightlifting, if you're doing jogging, if you're doing any type of exercise, it makes that exercise better, because you're dealing with a cell that has really gotten rid of the toxins in the cell. You're compressing the cell so it basically gets, like I say, all these things that the cell does that makes you healthy, it does even better by doing the rebounding. Because what happens when you go up and down on the rebounder, you don't have to leave the rebound. You don't have to be up in there, just up and down. Mm-hmm. Of course, you get, like I say, vigorous with it and do good as long as you don't overdo it, for that fact. But what happens is you're hitting zero gravity when you go up and then coming down. It's like, the best way I could explain it, like you take a sponge and you slap up some water with it, and then you take and squeeze it to get it dry. Well, it works with the cells because there's a compression there that causes the cell to get rid of all the toxins. And then it enables you to get more of the good things. It enables the sulfur and potassium balance. Gets the little mitochondria, the cell factory that gives us our energy. It stimulates that better than any exercise on the planet.
Well, you were explaining earlier when I asked you about what happens to the cell. When the cell is a wet cell.
Yeah, what happens is when we're under stress, excessive stress, if we are eating food that gives us a poor diet, if we don't exercise, then what happens is there's a blood protein that keeps the viscosity of the cell alive. It keeps it flowing. But the problem here is that when the blood protein seeps through the little tiny capillaries, it can't get back in. And then it surrounds the cell with what we call a wet cell, blood protein blockage, so that the cell can't do its normal function of cleansing and getting oxygen into the cell, and nitric oxide, which is nature's greatest anti-aging gas that the body creates to dilate the cells. So there's a whole cascade of events that happen when you do that. And it's fun. If you put some good jazzy music on, there's nothing more fun than up and down on that. You can do so many things on the rebounder. I could spend an hour talking about it. I mean, it's a good part of my training when I was on the circuit was rebounding.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I would put weights on my hand and punching and things while I was going up and down. And what it does, it hits every single muscle in the body, gets attention.
Even the brain, you said.
Brain, it clears the brain, get better eyesight. I mean, all those things. And it doesn't happen overnight. Some cases it does happen overnight. It depends on the person's perimeter as far as what they eat and how they sleep and how they get along and their attitude. Actually, the biggest thing is attitude. If you say, I'm going to get benefit, I believe Master Kelly, and I'm going to do this thing and I'm not going to give up on this thing and I'm going to enjoy it, and guess what? Mm-hmm. Voila, you start enjoying it and you start feeling better. Then the body says, I want to lymphocyze, I want to rebound. Lymphocyze meaning get all the lymphatic junk in the system. It's like that lymphatic fluid in the system does not get pushed through the system by the pumping of the heart like the blood does. No, it doesn't. What it does, it backs up. For example, our red cells are 7 microns in diameter. Our little capillaries where the cell needs to get into the capillary are 4 microns in diameter. So when a red cell gets into the capillary, if it doesn't fold for the nice tight fitness, if it just stays its size through lack of food properly, lack of exercise, then there's a little traffic jam. That's where the high blood pressure comes up, because the red cells cannot flow through the capillaries easy enough because they're under tremendous pressure and they can't function properly.
And you know, when you stop to think about so many people, especially like these days with the flu bugs, all kinds of different things that are out there, and we run to the doctor to, look, fix this, give me something that I can take like right now. So then we have all that in our system, right?
Right.
And what does it take to flush that out? And so if we can live a healthier life, keep our immune system going, and really keeping our cells clean. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it complements every form of movement, every form of exercise. It complements them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I recommend highly, if you get a lymphocyte or mini rebounder, make sure you get the ones that are the expensive ones, because they're the better, that has a little pole that you can hang on to when you're doing it, attached to it so that you don't fall. And I find that it's really helped my Parkinson's situation. It gives me a big weapon against it.
That's right. And you're doing everything that you can, and you're winning. You are winning. We have recently, it seems like when the snowbirds come back down, we get some of our students back in our Tai Chi Qigong classes. And we've been telling them about this as well, because when they get older, and not that much older, the balance is affected.
Well, it's also a point that we don't want to forget, that it's more important when you do rebounding, much more important to drink more water than any other exercise.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because of the fact that you're releasing all those toxins. They got to go somewhere. Let them go out into the latrine there rather than into your body, and stick to the organs and make the organs so they can't function properly. It's amazing. After a couple sessions of rebounding, you can feel the body feels lighter. It has more energy, and then the food that you eat gets, especially if you have Parkinson's or any of those diseases that creates constipation, the cells or the blood cannot function or the food passing through the body does not function as well, because you don't have the pulsing of the intestines to get that waste product out through the body.
So something just came to mind too, is we do our own research. We look for ways to alter what's going on, right?
Right.
And when we do, we're the typical patient that diagnoses ourselves, don't we? And we go, okay, well, let's go see what we can find. And we always end up going back to what worked before. And when you decided to get back into the rebounding, it's sitting right there in your family room. If you go to Barbara Marville Kelly on Facebook and go down a few little swipes there, you'll see him rebounding. And what really blows my mind is you're out there doing some really fast punches on the rebounder.
Right.
And still not losing your balance. Your punches are like so crisp and clear and like right on. How do you do that?
Every single ligament, every single muscle, every single tendon, every single cell has been improved by the movements in a way that's very hard to even explain, because there's so much that's going on there. That's all positive. I mean, you can overdo anything, but it's hard to overdo it because you're working on balancing. So if you get a little bit crazy on it, you can feel yourself like you're going to fall, even if you don't. Like, I don't use the rod on mine.
No, ours didn't come with it, but you can get them now that comes with a bar. It's like, so, and you can get them for what? About $150 for a good one?
Yeah, good. From $150 to $300, you should be able to negotiate a deal for $150, or find a place that sells it. But the cheap ones for $40, $50, that's a waste of time. You're getting hurt on those things because they don't have any, there's no spring to it, and it's actually counterproductive to the joints and the muscles and the ligaments and so on.
Yeah, and it tells how many pounds, right, that you can use it for. So that's another thing.
Yeah,
see
you
what
got
the pounds
a 400
are.
or 500 pound person, that's not a good idea.
No.
But within, say, 200 pounds, 250 pounds, 300 pounds, it should work. They're built really well.
Yeah, they
the
are.
ones that you're paying that kind of money for.
Now, let's talk about when you start out how did you start? Now, you started doing this mainly because you were in competition and you had a whole
Right.
plethora of things. Well, when you stop to think about it, you better be in really good shape when you're getting in the ring for men's full contact point karate, right? And men were how many years younger than you as well?
15, 20 years. I
15,
never
20.
found anyone to fight my age.
Never. And so you have to compromise for what you're doing here in the ring, and you started doing this how many years? Since I've known you.
Years ago, and I stopped until just recently. I stopped for, I guess it's like anything else, you get a sidetracked
Right.
and so on, and I was doing other forms of exercise. I mean, I didn't stop exercising, but I stopped using that because I wasn't competing anymore.
But however, when you started, did you start out with like 5 minutes, then 10 minutes? Work yourself
Your body
up?
will tell you. You start out so that when you start getting a little exhausted, that's time to back off. And then each time you get on, you go a little bit further, and eventually the resistance is how I say, conquered to a degree. And your encouragement goes on because you start feeling so much better.
Yeah.
The body starts craving that. And that's the good part about it. It's not like any other exercise. It's fun. It's like dancing in the air.
Oh, I like that.
Because you have
Dancing in
that
the
zero
air.
gravity and you're up there.
Yes.
It's like, wow, that feels good.
That it does feel good, and I can see how you feel after that. That's what we are doing, and you might want to just double check if you're under doctor supervision. Just kind of throw that out, and also throw out there about doing Qigong, because for the breathing and the balance, I mean, it's like a fine marriage, because you're getting it. Oh, and that's the other thing. My husband likes the rebounder or the lymphocyzer, whichever you choose to call it. You're doing that now for your cardio as opposed to going and getting on the bike for 45 minutes.
Yeah, I do both, but I do now the lymphocyzer. I do that now more than I do the bike.
Because it's fun, right?
Yeah, it's fun, and it actually works better.
Yeah. Well, I can tell a big difference. I
can too.
Yeah, just since you've been doing it, it's only been like a couple of weeks, digging those old tools out of the toolbox.
Well, I have an advantage over the average public because I do Tai Chi and Qigong, and that helps with the balance. So when I
Yes.
get on the rebounder, I don't have to worry too much about falling because my balance is different than the most people that have Parkinson's disease. Their balance is shot,
That's right.
and it gets worse. Mine is not shot, it's not getting worse.
Like you said, it's not
holding its own.
It's holding its own. It's definitely holding its own. And I live with this man, so I can see, what's doing. Is another something else that we do are amino acids. And of course, if you have a health professional that you trust, talk to that person about amino acids. They are the building blocks of protein. And I know that we're on a really good amino acid product. We feel better as well. There's so many different things that we can do as we add years to our life so that we can have a quality of life. I mean, I can keep up with my grandson, and that's a lot, believe me when I tell you. And it's just like, not last year, but the year before, I went down on the dance floor and I found ways to heal my knee. And you're going to hear more about that. I did some PT, I did the Beamer mat. We actually did a show on the Beamer mat. And there's all kinds of different things that we research, and we find out what is going to work the best for us. And then we share it with you in hopes that you'll take heed and look into the research yourself so that you feel really good about it and let your heart be the decision maker for you. Something else that just came to mind that I used to sell on the Home Shopping Network was the Teeter hang-ups inversion table. A lot of people believe in that too, especially, and we're not making any claims to cure or anything like that or diagnose, but I would recommend that. I've seen that do amazing things and used to demonstrate that hanging upside down. I tell you, there's so much out there. And with the internet, to be able to go and get the information, a lot of people will say, oh, stay off of that, stay off of that. But really, if you know what you're looking for and you can understand validation, it's pretty easy to find. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I purposely not mention the name of the company because I don't want anybody to think that we're trying to sell you.
No.
rebounding.
No.
You can get on the internet, and there's other companies, and just put rebounder.com, and you'd be surprised. There are a lot of things that come up. So you can pick the company that you choose to do business with.
Of course.
Whoever gives the best pitch. But when you spend $150 to $200, then you're getting a good one.
Well, you know, I find that I need motivation, and my husband knows that it's not my favorite thing to exercise because I get hot, and I don't like to get hot. And so, so the only thing that I will
She's
do...
a hot lady.
The only thing that I will do is dance. If I get hot dancing, I'm okay with it. You know why? Because I'm having fun, and that's just what you said
You'd
earlier.
rather dance than eat.
I know,
And that's
exactly.
true.
I know. We're going to be doing a lot of that this year, and sharing a lot of other things that we're doing at home, too. But you know what? They've been talking about another decade that has gone by on the news. And I wanted to bring that up today because when we stop and think, 10 years.
Time goes by fast. The older
years.
you get, the faster time goes by.
It sure does seem like that. Do you feel like that? Another 10 years, when I can think back where we were 10 years ago, we were kind of like doing the same thing that we're doing now, right? In teaching and certifying instructors to teach Tai Chi, which we need today because Tai Chi and Qigong is recommended by all doctors, and they tell you to go ahead and give it a try. And I find it so interesting that some of our students that has gone up north or whatever, and maybe they didn't come back to the class after going for a while, they're coming back because, like I said earlier in the beginning of the show, that they're starting to lose their balance. And that's very scary, to lose your balance, because if you lose your balance and you fall down, go boom, then what? Then what? End up in the hospital, fractured hip, broken kneecap, or whatever it is. So prevention is really our big thing. And we follow everything that's in here. And we follow the MAP, the Master Action Plan by Divine Guidance. And that is what you're going to be hearing about more and more through the year 2020. I started this, gosh, I know I've done this when I was in the process of writing some of the chapters of my book, is having that 2020 vision with laser beam focus. This was before 2020. That was years ago when I started talking about that, and then I thought, wait a minute, let's combine the two. 2020 vision, laser beam focus for 2020. And honestly, it works. And living in the present moment, I know you hear that time and time again, but it's a real thing. When you live in the moment, from one moment to the next, things change. Things change. They really do change.
And change is inevitable. You either have the change that causes you to change, or you can cause a change. In other words, being the factor. If you don't decide to do anything, then change will take place in a negative thing. Just like if somebody came to me right now and asked, what would be the best exercise program in my life that would enable me to live longer and healthier on the average, above average, and at least the worst case average, most cases above average. If I was to create a program for someone using what I use, first of all, you need to balance the soft with the hard. Hard cardio work, where you get the heart rate to go up, and then the softness to control the sympathetic nervous system, make it the parasympathetic nervous system, which causes us to relax. The sympathetic is one where we're doing the hard stuff. The parasympathetic nervous system is the soft stuff. So you got the balance of the yin and the yang, so to speak. So the perfect program that I would recommend to anybody wanting to be a world-class athlete, world-class person, as far as the health and fitness and so on, is the rebounder for your cardio, Qigong and Tai Chi for your soft style. In other words, for your relaxing. It's meditation and motion. Like the Tai Chi gives you this softness and pliability of a child, and the Qigong gives you the focus and concentration of a Shaolin monk. So we put together the rebounder along with those things I just mentioned, and you got the ultimate exercise package. They're fun, they're easy to do, and the key thing, like I say, is be persistent. Don't go off the track. Whatever works good it will always be good as long as you do it with the right attitude and as long as it's fun. The rebounder is a lot of fun, so that gives the longevity part of the rebounder with the average person a lot longer than under any other form of exercise. Then, of course, getting the good balance of eating right, taking the right supplements, all those things work together. But the main thing, like I say, there are 3 types of words. There are 3 words that are the most important words in the English language. Our thoughts are things. What you think about, you bring about. What you think about becomes a reality. So be careful of what you're thinking, because the thinking, if it's thinking, is going to get stinking results.
I love that when you say
You like that when I say that?
I do. You know, I was thinking about the rebounder, because we only have one. So when my husband turns on Spectrum, if you have Spectrum cable, go to Soundscapes, and my husband gets the Latin beat on there, and I can't help myself, so I fly out of the kitchen, and I'm dancing around him on the rebounder, so we're both getting benefits at the same
And
time.
the dogs, they enjoy running around amused at what we're doing. So we have the whole family is getting together for a barrel of fun, getting good healthy exercise, good attitude, and all those things, because it takes effort, it takes work.
It does. It does. It does. And you're a walking example. You took your last world championship at age 78. Come March this year, you will be 82. And don't be surprised of this crazy man and his crazy wife show up at the U.S. Open 2020.
Oh, I plan to. I plan to come out of retirement and fight again. The reason is I don't want to, like, trying to prove something. What I want to do is a platform when I say something, people will say there's a lot of credibility what he says, because so much garbage is out there right now, you don't know what to believe. But I can assure you and tell you this, if you follow my program, and I'm not merchandising myself around, I'm just telling you what I'm telling you now, and run with it. Your whole life, in a way, would be just wonderful improvements that take place with your mind, your body, and your emotion. You're working on the trilogy, all 3. You've got to keep your eye with the ball in the air and do it with a good attitude. Don't doubt it. Just do it.
Well, and find a way to motivate yourself. If you need a way, you know we're on the air live, which we are here today, 2020. You can keep watching this show over and over because they're archived, and then tune into the next one. Every Monday at 5 p.m. Sometimes we'll have guests, sometimes my husband has the day off, but he's a walking wealth of information. And the thing is that a lot of people don't really think about is when we're faced with so much crazy disease and all that's going on out in the air, in the airport. We have a friend that just traveled, came back with 2 ear infections and strep throat. And I mean, you never know what's going to be out there. But the more we build our Constitution, it gives us that chance to fight it off, I think, a little bit easier. And not only that, I hate to say this, but the world, we're in very volatile times. There's a lot of crazy things going out there with bad actors doing bad things and all. For us to keep ourselves in shape, it helps us with that awareness around us. Now, I know we're martial artists, okay? So we have that inbred in us, but the average person can learn that unwavering laser beam focus so that when you're out and about, you know what's going on. Make sense?
Absolutely. You couldn't have done it any better.
And when we take care of ourselves and we eat better, that helps. It helps us do that. And I remember when you first got me on this program, you know, when you were using me as an example, so to speak.
You're my guinea pig.
I know. Well, I was losing weight, and we would reserve desserts for just the weekends. And I would eat a dessert or something that, you know, maybe you shouldn't on a regular basis. And I thought, wait a minute, I really get this working out thing because I can eat what I want because I'm working it out, right?
Right.
And I'm maintaining weight. Because when we gain that weight, we feel uncomfortable, we lose our self-esteem, we don't want to go anywhere, and we're just kind of like slugging around. Well, 80% of what you eat should be water-soluble, fruits and vegetables. The other 20% can be your cake or candy or whatever you want, as long as you don't overdo it. Because
I mean, life is too short not to enjoy some of those niceties.
Yeah.
So you can have both worlds if you just do it carefully.
Balance.
Yeah, you know
All
how
about
crazy I am
balance.
about carrot cake. I'll never give up carrot cake.
I know.
But at the same time, I don't eat it during the week as much as I do on the weekends. In fact, hardly at all I eat it during the week.
So what you've been doing here is going back to some of the things that work. And, in the beginning of the year, so many people do make resolutions, or you see a lot of advertising, be a new you. Look for the new you. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. Why can't we be the best of ourselves in the upcoming year and just keep getting better and better and better? I don't want to start over with a new me. I've been on this planet almost 72 years. That's a lot of changing around. Besides, I don't dislike who I am today, right? I love life. I love my family and my friends. Love coming here, doing the show, and talking to you guys out there in hopes that you will share a little bit of this knowledge, because that's how we make a difference in the world.
You have to have a plan. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to have a plan, but if you're not planning to be successful, you're planning to fail.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that, and I've heard that time and time again. We've lived through life with many crazy ups and downs. I mean, you overcame the C word, you're overcoming the P word. We don't even like to give it the energy, okay? But it's a matter of how you address it. And we address these things with a winning warrior attitude. Like, we're not going to fail at this. And it helps keep our consciousness level at a higher level of positivity, gratitude, and coming from love.
Love is the highest vibration in the universe. Mm-hmm. Not the sexual type of love, but we're talking about the compassionate type of love that you have for a person or another animal or whatever. Is that love is truly a wonderful experience. There's an old saying, it's better to love and lost than not to love at all. That's a bad experience, or that's a bad statement. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you, in other words, taking the fact is that even if you are disappointed in love, that it's better to have experienced that than never experienced it.
I agree, knowing that I have had that experience.
First of all, you got to start with loving yourself. Most people don't. If you don't love yourself, you can't love your God. You can't love anybody if you don't love yourself, because you're a somebody. Mm-hmm. And you're not just a human being. You're more than a human being. The thing that I usually ask everybody in my seminars that I hold on fitness and wellness and so on is, how many of you would like to live to be 100?
Oh, boy.
Anybody raise their hand?
I love that
Why
question.
would they like to be living to be 100? Because of the quality of life. Mm-hmm. You can have that good quality of life up into the hundreds. Mm-hmm. No, I say hundreds, I mean above 100 and above.
Well, you see people doing it all the time, and I know it seems like it's an anomaly, like you're an anomaly, and we were talking about being abnormal. That shouldn't be that way. That should be the norm.
No, we should not be the exception to the rule. We
That's
should
right.
be the rule.
That's right. But what do you think? Is it lack of knowledge, or people just don't care? Or, I mean, I guess when people are going through stuff, it's easier to just give up.
Well, we're programmed by our environment. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things that you need to do if you really want to be successful, mentally, emotionally, and physically, and economically, is you have to set goals. If you don't set a goal, it's like a ship without a rudder. And then what you need to do once you set the goals is be passionate about those goals. See the goals already made and accomplished. Even though you haven't made it yet, you experience the feeling, what it would feel like to make a goal. By able to have that, whatever you want, have that idea of what you want to become, it's so important to get and have passion. There's a 5-step program called the 5 Steps of Success. Part number 1 is decide what you want. Decide what you want. Organize yourself. Get all the pieces of the puzzle that you want. Then number 2 is to build up the necessary desire, passion of what you want. See yourself doing it. See yourself becoming passionate about it. Number 3 is act. Get off your butts. I can't do that, but no, you don't want to have those kind of butts in it. You want to go at it like that. Act. In other words, get action. And then see if it's working or not. And if it's not working, then give it another try. Change the way you're approaching it. But if you keep doing the same thing and it's not working, that's what insanity is. Keep doing the same thing and expect to change. So you may have to change. For things to get better, you set a goal, and that goal to be complete, you have to be in a position to want to have that and see that as already done. The challenge is most people don't use the visualization. Imagination is the strongest force in the universe. Professor Einstein, on his deathbed, the reporters were there taking notes. They said, Professor Einstein, what is your secret? Is there something more powerful than what you're doing? What is the most powerful thing in the universe? And Einstein did not hesitate. He said, the most powerful force in the universe, more so than all the other powers and sources, is the power of the imagination.
Yes.
So using imagination to do the step process of making your goals. Imagine those goals already been made. And write them down.
Yes. Yes.
The graduating class of Harvard University back several years ago did a 20-year study. When the people that came graduate from the college that set goals and put them in writing, 3% of the people of the class did it. When they came back 20 years later, the 3% was making more money than the 97% of the ones that didn't write their goals down.
Isn't that amazing?
And not only Harvard, but the university, Yale University did this similar studies. So it wasn't a fluke. There was ironclad proof that this happened. Writing the goals down not only gives you economical improvements, it gives you health, fitness improvements by writing those goals down. Because then the powers to be draws that energy. There's a wow factor in a book called The Secret, that the wow factor is when you focus on a thought and you get passionate about it, the thought then becomes things. As I said before, thoughts are things. So when you create that thought and get passionate, Dennis Waitley said this, and he put it quite eloquently. He says, when you get a goal and get passionate, 18 to 20 billion brain cells will activate at abnormal rates, and they will send out those vibrations. So out there, those vibrations will create a thing, will come back either if it's a bad thing that you're thinking about as a bad thing, or if it's a good thing, these things come back as a good thing. That's why you have to be careful about what you think.
Oh,
yes. Thinking is thinking, as Zig Ziglar would say,
yes.
So is your result. You point the finger at somebody, you got three fingers pointed back at yourself. And believe me, that makes a big difference. But
it does.
Living by those kind of, not rules, but policies.
Exactly. I have to tell you something, and I think I may have, when I bought those pillows, I had these pillows in my mind that I wanted. So I thought about it long. I do this all the time. You know that. I'll think about it, and then they'll appear. So I'm doing a little redecorating in that, and I wanted pillows that are a little bit more artsy, a little bit more kind of like macrame or twisted and woven. Son of a gun, if I didn't walk into my favorite store and I found two of those. You see this top I have on today? You can't really see. It's a bat wing, where it's nice and comfortable, you know. I wanted a red batwing top. And I only thought about this for, I think, 2 days. I'm getting really good at this. I just think about it, and then it appears, right?
Absolutely.
I was thinking about a check, and it appeared right in the exact amount just today. And so try it. Just try it. These are some of the things that we do and we have a whole lot of fun with. We've had our moments and at times where, you know, change happens, crisis happens, death happens, and, you know, things with family and friends. And every day is such a gift. It really, really is. And we're born with treasures and gifts that our good Lord has blessed us with. And that's why we love doing the shows, is so that we can share what things has worked for us. And believe me, it hasn't been a real bowl of cherries, right? And there's been times where we felt like we were in the pits. Many times. We've been together, going on 23 years now.
Yeah.
But for the most part, very high percentage of our time has always been very positive. We always do what we do coming from love, no matter what it is or who's involved or what somebody has done to us, good, bad, or indifferent. You know, you got to live that life. At least we feel that we have empowered our lives through basically forgiveness, love, inspiration, and enlightenment. We enlighten ourselves so we can help light the way for others that maybe have lost their way. Believe me, I've lost my way. You've lost your way. We both talk about that. I mean, it was many, many years ago, and it took a while to get back on the right path, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, sometimes you get off the path. It takes a lot of fortitude to really make the decision to get back on the path.
It takes the drive, the driving force, the whys, the whos that are involved, and it takes, like you said, one of our favorite words besides love is passion.
Well, you know, the thing that I find out when I ask an audience, when I'm doing a seminar, how many of you believe that we have unlimited potential as a human being? Almost everybody will raise their hand. How many of you believe that we only use a small portion of our routine, of our thought? Excuse me, Parker.
Okay.
So the key thing is, why do people lose their power? Because if you change the word from unlimited potential to unlimited power will change the word from what we have the capacity to have the power. We change the word. If you just change the word from potential to power, power has got much more power than the word potential. Potential is like something that you can use down the line.
Yeah.
Power, you've got it right now to utilize. That's what I was struggling with there for a minute. I got so excited about talking about it.
I know. Well, and it's like passion. Think about it. Passion, power, persistence.
Yeah, why do people don't have power is because they give it up. Why do they give it up? Because they don't believe they have. They don't believe they have it.
That's right.
Talk about a person as a human being. We're much more than a human being. We're a spiritual being. Over in Asia, they look at every human being as an energy being rather than a skin and bones and matter. That we are an energy being. The body just means a vehicle in this type of domain. But our spirit is that's called internal strength. That's much more greater than external strength. It all comes down to all these little things by step. They're not that complicated.
No, they're really not.
Like you and I and people that have worked with us, we become eclectics of the eclectics.
Oh my goodness, and so much research that we've done from reading different books and taking parts that really resonate with us. And it's really interesting because our friends that we hang out with are, for the most part, a very high percentage of them light workers and energy workers that really understand that whole mindset. And some people probably think we're wackadoodles. I'm okay with that because what we're doing is working. We don't go off the deep end. We're spiritual. We believe in our God, and it is a daily conversation throughout a day that I do not give grace to our Heavenly Father. And that is one of the things that has really made a big impact for the many years that we've been together. And I just had to say it. And if you get right with your God and believe in have that faith and believe that you can do anything you put your mind to. And I know that's what we're doing. And I'm not quite 72 yet, but you're closer to 82 than I am to 72. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
But it's hard for me to grasp the fact that I'm going to be 82 in March.
Oh, I know.
It's just, I don't feel it, I don't think it. And it's because of all these little things that we do that add up to big things. Yeah,
it does. And the most gratifying thing is when we get a letter from a student or a phone call, and even from book signings that you did when you were doing the circuit. When you're doing the book signing for the 6 Steps to Fountain of Youth, which this book is 1996. It still works. We still do these same things today. So this is, our secret sauces are in this cookbook right here. And I tell you, just one step at a time. He wrote this book so that you do one thing one week, and then the next week, and then another week, and you add, right?
Right. Well, that book, there's only one other book that you need if you don't like to read, and you just want to get all the knowledge you can from a book. There's 2 books, this book and the Bible. Those two
I
things.
knew you were going to say the Bible.
Those two things.
That is so
is all
true.
you really need. Not that I'm trying to tell you not to get further intelligence through your reading and so on, but to be able to take, if you like reading, obviously the more books you read, the more people you bring in your life as your masters, or people that you can refer to get the results that you want to get in life. But a lot of people don't like doing that. So if you don't like doing that, that's not the end. All you need is a book like myself, and it takes care of all those things along with the Bible.
Exactly. You know, I have a good, my devotional, and you know my devotional, Jesus Always. You can get that on Amazon. It's very affordable. Even Walmart's carries that book. It's Jesus Always. And it's written in such a way that I can really understand it. I love the Bible. Sometimes it doesn't, I can't process it all together. It's like whoop, over my head in some areas. But she expresses in such a way with all the different verses. And it's 365 days for the year. Another book is called Jesus Calling. It's just a little small hardcover, and I keep it right by my chair. First thing I do when I get up in the morning, waiting for the champ to get up and have coffee with me. And of course the girls get me up at 4:30 to go potty and eat their breakfast and all that kind of stuff. But once they get settled in, then I settle in with my coffee and my devotionals. Thank you, Kathleen Lamb, for that book when I needed it most. Believe me, that's where I go to all day long. And I'm very proud to talk about that too. So it looks like, is an hour almost gone by here? And we're just kind of scratching the surface here for our 2020 vision for 2020. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. And what else did I want to talk about here? Well, we talked about the Master Action Plan, and part of that is setting the goals. This is the time right now is to set the goals. We actually started this, well, I would say probably before fourth quarter last year. Once I got my knee healed up and then the broken wrist and all of that, I can't believe I did all that. got it behind us, right?
Well, we walk our talk 99% of the time, and we're not perfect. Nobody can be perfect. That can only be a direction, not a goal. Mm-hmm. But the thing I want to leave you with before we adjourn from this is that there are 4 laws. If you just simplicity speaking and memorize these laws and utilize what I'm about to tell you, can make a major difference in your life. First of all, the law of attraction. All of us use that every day, law of attraction. When we think about, we bring about. So we attract those things to us.
Yeah.
So do step number 2, law number 2, you have to understand law number 1. Law number 2 is the law of deliberate creation. Understanding law number 1, well, that means that whatever I think about, I become. Well, then I'll control what I think about. I'll be the director of my movie rather than somebody else be the director of my movie. I want to be a director of my own movie. Life is like a movie. And you can be a participant, a character in the movie also, if it's your movie, and get that character to move with whatever you want them to do. So that's the law of deliberate creation, knowing what you want and knowing that this law is paramount in becoming very successful. Then law number 3 is the law of allowing other people the way they want to be, even though they don't want you to be the way you want to be. The key is we try to interfere with people's life. We try to change them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people get married, and the very thing that they were attracted to, they want to change later on down the marriage.
That doesn't make sense.
Weird.
It never makes sense.
So that, and then the 4th law is the law of deliberate creation. The law of diffuse atrophy. The law of diffuse atrophy means things you don't use, you lose. So understanding that law and understanding the other 3 laws, it makes your life completely different. And there's one word that you never want to ever use, ever, is the word problem. I have a problem. No, you don't have a problem. You have a challenge. Just change the word problem to word challenge. Can change your life. So any one of these little things we're throwing out to you right now, I know they're crumbs because basically there's so much to it, but this is the simplicity of it. Having a strong ego drive, empathy balance is paramount in being successful. Having that balance where your ego and your empathy balance are balanced. Some people too much ego, some people too much empathy, where they're dealing in the sympathy rather than empathy. So that doesn't work. So balancing those two things are so important.
I'm so glad that you touched on that with the ego drive
That's a
and
key
empathy
thing.
balance. It is because we've talked about balance many, many, many times. And you know what I really love is all the years that we dripped on our kids, and when our son was living with us, when John was living with us, and we'd leave the book laying around.
It worked.
And it worked. And now he quotes stuff coming from the book. And I'll call him up. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just sitting here relaxing. So you set the example because there is so much stress out in the world that we have to deal with on a regular basis. So if we can give you some of these tools, and if just one little thing helps, then we know we have succeeded, because when you can deal with stress, stress is the number one cause for dis-ease, and in many times premature death. It will put you in the grave so much faster than just about anything, because it leads to the dis-ease.
Well, the word stressed, if you turn it backwards, it's desserts.
And-
so make desserts out of your stress.
Look at that! It's time to go. We'll see you next
Wow.
week. Thank you for
gotta be
joining
kidding
us.
me.
Happy
Sorry
New
about
Year.
that.